Hey, hello, and welcome to the Whole Loaf, a holistic approach to building healthy lives and strong relationships. I am with Deborah Murray, food stylist to the stars and author of 17 different cookbooks, and my wife of 28 years, Suzanne. And so what do we have cooking here tonight?
Well, Pastor, I am making one of the dishes that anyone that knows me says is one of the best things I make, and it's Moroccan chicken.
Ooh.
I'm going to show you, it's easy, it's fast, it's delicious, it doesn't take a lot of ingredients, and it's really, really good for you.
So we are kind of cooking in a way.
Yeah.
We are going to spice it up tonight.
Oh,
right?
It's going to get spicy.
So yeah, it's going to get spicy. And so I'm going to warn you right off the bat, this is a PG-13 kind of episode, okay? So PG-13, if you've got little ones, we're going to talk about relationships tonight. We're going to talk about sex. All right? And so unless you've got...
on a cooking show?
On a cooking show, yes. Yes.
Getting hot here.
Yeah, it's getting hot. Okay. So anyway, if you got some little ones, you might have some explaining to do. Okay, so it's your choice. But anyway, so we are going to spice it up, and one of the reasons we're going to talk about this is it's one of the top 3 reasons that couples present for counseling. Finances, communication, whatever that is. That's a broad subject, right? And then thirdly, sex. So it's one of the top 3 reasons that couples present for counseling. And so what do we have going on here?
All right, so what I'm doing right now is I have chicken parts that I've cut into small pieces. I've covered them with some of the spices that you would think of when you're thinking of Moroccan. Turmeric,
All right.
some paprika, cumin, salt, and pepper, and I put a little olive oil in here. I'm going to put a little sear on my chicken. Then we're going to add some onions, some garlic. But the main ingredient to this, you and I had you taste earlier in the show. We are going to pickle or preserve lemons. And that's pretty tasty.
Yeah, I was eating one of the rinds before. I mean, it was excellent. So
Isn't it awesome?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. So I always think of paprika as being Hungarian,
Right.
not necessarily Moroccan.
There's a lot of different cultures that use it. Some are sweet, some are hot. You know, they actually help browning.
Okay.
But it's very, very good for the body. And again, it adds a lot of color. The turmeric's going to add a lot of color. We're even going to use saffron. And you and I were talking about this earlier. This is the most expensive spice per pound in the world.
Look how
See,
tiny.
look at that little spice in there, a little saffron.
Yep. Those like 18 strands, that's like $3 for 18
Is it really?
strands.
Okay.
Wow. It's gonna be spicy.
Spicy, yeah. It's good. As I told you, it's going to
right
get a
show.
little heated, a little bit of spice tonight. And so you're cutting tomatoes over here.
This is super easy. So I am making a Moroccan tomato, onion, and cucumber salad. And Moroccan dishes, side dishes, are usually served warm, and you serve them on little plates, but you can also serve some cold salads. So this is a really popular salad that they have in Morocco, and it's super easy. So that's what I'm going to be working today. Nothing heating up over here. The heating up is all the way over there with Jeff.
Or pastor,
Yeah,
I think.
So we're cooking now, right? So anyway, when you look at the Bible talks about when couples get married, they become one flesh, right? And so the scripture, God honors the importance of sexuality in marriage. I mean, it is an extremely important aspect of marriage. And we said before that the basis of a strong relationship, of an intimate relationship, is always friendship. Okay, that oneness, that emotional, intellectual, spiritual connectedness. And so one of the main things we need to do is focus on basically developing stronger friendships. Okay, and part of that is having fun together. And we said, like, cooking in the kitchen, you learn something new, you have a good time with each other, you're spending some quality time with each other. And so one, you gotta have fun, right?
Yeah.
And you develop that friendship. That's just talking, that's learning about each other's goals, about dreams, about their fears, and just spending that time in one-to-one kind of communication with each other. So let me ask you guys a question, all right? I'm asking everybody here.
Okay.
When you think of sex or sexual, what do you think of? Now watch it. Yeah, I know. I kind of gave it away, right?
Yeah.
Sex.
When you think of sexual, what do you think of?
I think of sex.
Sex, yeah, right?
I
right.
feel embarrassed.
And see, this is part of the problem. Couples, they have a hard time talking about this stuff because they get a little precocious.
Vapors.
Yeah, little vapors. They get vapors. They get a little embarrassed, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's another question. When you think of sensual experience, what do you think of?
Romance.
Intimacy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great
Romance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a big difference. And see, in our culture, we have a tendency to mix that up, right? You think of the early stages when somebody dates. Okay, you just get together, right? I mean, you're touching each other, you're holding hands, you're taking long walks down the beach if you're near a coast. You know, you're hugging, you know, and then all of a sudden, you get married or the relationship develops, and you get all the stresses, and you're always on the run, always on the move, and then all of a sudden, you bypass the sensual, and you become like goal-oriented, right? Yes, you become machines, you become goal-oriented, and you lose some of the connectedness, right? So you lose the sensual, and the sensual is extremely important. So what happens is, because of all the pressures of life, we spend less time on the sensual. Right. So what we're going to challenge you to do tonight is keep the sensual alive in your relationship. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment, but you are cutting up some oranges.
No, they're not really oranges. These are Myers lemons. Have you ever had a Myers lemon before? Here, Pastor, I'm going to actually preserve these, but if you've never done this before, smell that. Okay. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. They almost look like it's half tangerine, half lemon, but that is an actual lemon.
So this, I was confused before we began this filming. She kept saying, "Oh, it's a lemon, it's a lemon." Well, I'm looking at it; it looks like an orange.
It does.
And so
very, very.
I was afraid to
color.
ask, and so now I'm glad you told me.
And I
did not know lemons came.
Correct you in front of everybody, but it would be confusing to somebody if they saw it in a grocery store. They're not as bitter as regular oranges. They usually have much better yield as far as the juice that comes out of them. This is what a lot of people would make, like in California, it's huge to make lemonade out of Myers lemon. Because they're a lot less acidic. So what I'm doing right now is making it completely unacidic. You take a lemon, you quarter it. Now you don't have to use Myers lemon, you can use any lemon. You're going to fill the interior with salt. Then you're going to stack them in a mason jar. And then once these are filled, you're going to top them with water. Within 24 hours, the white part of that lemon, that's usually very, very, very bitter, it completely neutralizes that. And then we cut up the pulp like I just did in there. We're going to add the rinds to it. And you tasted the rock earlier.
The rind was, it was beautiful tasting. So it was excellent. I mean, we're throwing stuff all over the place. So you cut up the middle part.
I cut up the middle part in there. Instead of squeezing it, I want every bit. Because again, the bitterness has been removed by preserving it. And now the rinds themselves are going to be delicious and tasty. The ones that you saw earlier that didn't have much color, that's because I had done them like a month ago. So they lose their color. Right away, they're very vibrant. But within another week, this will be very translucent. And you can buy them on Amazon. You can buy them anywhere. They do look really pretty just out on the counter. But the lemons are so good for your liver. They're so good for the body. They're so alkalizing. They're probably great for sex, too.
So, yeah, I got no idea if they are or not. Like I said, I didn't even know it was
We don't know.
Yeah. But you know what? I think it makes a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, because, you know, stereotypically, us guys, ladies, we are a little confused. And when I say a little confused, we're confused about a lot. All right? And so, in all honesty, unless you tell us that that's a lemon and not an orange, you know, like, unless you tell us what you like, unless you tell us what you're thinking, unless you're telling us what you want or what you need, in all honesty, stereotypically, a guy doesn't know.
You're not mind readers.
We just don't know. That's right. We're not mind readers. And actually, either are females.
We think we are.
Yeah, well, we all think we are, right? We all assume that we know what the other person wants or what the other person is thinking, but you're wrong 90-some-odd% of the time.
Right.
And so we cannot be mind readers.
Right.
And so one of the things I want to stress is it's critical. All right, it's critical for you to talk about your physical relationship. You know, oftentimes, a couple of weeks ago, I think we talked about how if there's a problem in a relationship, we always just try to fix it without talking about it. So we never really
make it better.
Yeah, we never really find out what the undercurrent is or what the real issue is, the hidden issue. And so we just try to fix the problem. Well, people do that in the bedroom as well. They think if there's a problem, well, you just go right to the end result, right? And they never dig deeper. They never really find out what is truly going on. And so that frank communication, who's Frank? I don't know. That frank, it's a whole different story. That frank communication is imperative. All right, so when it comes to a physical relationship, no mind reading. Okay, when it comes to sensuality, no mind reading. Because that's one of the big problems. One of the big problems is we assume we know what the other person wants. And we don't. We don't know. And once you start assuming, once you start making those assumptions, you're wrong. And it's just going to add on to the problems here. So what you got?
Well, isn't it awkward though? I mean, I think that's the part that I would have found awkward to bring that up. You know, I feel like there's that part of you that you're just kind of nervous about stuff like that.
Well,
Well, it makes you very vulnerable to
Yeah.
say, hey, I like this, I don't like that. I mean, who wants to talk about
I
that?
already looked vapors.
I know.
You're so cute, Suzanne. I love you.
But you know, well, any relationship is risky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any relationship, you got to kind of open yourself up. And whenever you open yourself up, you take a risk because you might get rejected. You might, and so any relationship is risky. But I always sit back and think, your marriage relationship or that special person, that's your safe place, right? That's the place where you should be completely and totally open, completely and totally exposed to each other.
All right, so what I'm doing right now, Pastor, is I've taken some chicken stock and I put those saffron strands in there. The recipe calls, and this is the Suzanne Summers recipe that I told you when I first started working from her first book. I put it in there, and look at how it's turned into a vibrant yellow.
So how long has that been?
Like, not even 30 seconds.
Okay, so
like,
that's
when you
okay.
mentioned something about sex, I think I threw the strands in.
Sucks.
So I actually have caused the saffron to bloom. The only other thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in some cilantro and some parsley. I'm going to add in olives. Now, she actually calls for Moroccan red olives, but I bought Moroccan red olives, which are really hard to find and they're very expensive. And they didn't taste any different. So you don't need to use the Moroccan red. You can get them, they're fabulous, but any pitted olives will work. And I'm going to put a lid on this and then I'm going to finish it in the oven.
Okay. So once again, just out of male ignorance, you said that the saffron bloomed?
It
Which means
blooms,
what?
meaning that it's releasing some of its color, it's releasing some of its flavor. A lot of people will just drop the strands right into the dish that they're cooking. And saffron, if you put it into a liquid, whether it's wine, water, chicken stock, it starts to lose.
Color.
Yeah, so, and again, it's a very beautiful flavor. Don't just think Spanish. Don't just think, because a lot of us think of paella or that's where a sauce Valencia, but I love it in anything with tomatoes or anything with chickens, and it's so good for you. I mean, read about the health properties of it. They're using it as an antidepressant and a weight loss.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very good. So we just got all that, and it's just, you said it's just
simmering
boiling down
away.
right now?
Yep,
simmering
and I'm
away?
gonna put a lid on it
Okay.
and put it in the oven.
Very good. And what you got? What have you done over here now?
I have been concocting over here. So it is grape tomatoes, and I cut them in half. And the little secret is that I use, it's really hard to cut a tomato, so I always use a steak knife, and it makes it really a beautiful cut. It makes it stay firm and what have you. And then I used a couple cucumbers and red onion and normal onions. Normal onions, is that the right word?
There. Sorry, you
Vidalia.
saying white Vidalia.
Yes,
Okay,
Vidalia
sweet
onions. And then we've got some olive oil and vinegar and a little bit of honey. And we're just gonna let this rest and sit in the refrigerator for a couple hours, because the longer it sits, the better it gets and it ferments. And at the very end, we're gonna put a little bit of feta cheese on top before we serve it.
I start digging
delicious.
in.
Yeah,
I start
super
digging
easy.
in right away, right? So I don't
Yes.
let it ferment. That kind of like applies to even what we were talking about here today, right? You go right for the gusto.
Yes.
And but if you massage it a little bit, you know, it's
It's always better.
Woo! It is getting hot in here. I don't know if you got. Is that a 350? Is that what that is? So we're gonna cook the chicken at 350.
350, we're gonna go for about a half hour. What's going to happen is the broth that we just made, which comes from the chicken stock, the preserved lemons, the olives, and the chicken juice, all blends together by cooking it slowly in the oven. Like a lot of times I would actually have just put all of those ingredients into the slow cooker or the pressure cooker. My girlfriend Christy Strausser, when she lived with me, this is her favorite dish. My daughter-in-law Natalie, her favorite dish. I can't wait for you to actually taste it.
I have been hearing about this
for you.
dish. Okay, I've been hearing about this dish from several people. They're really excited about us sitting down and cook it tonight. So this looks phenomenal. And you know, in all honesty, I am not a big fan of olives.
I didn't know
No,
that about you.
I always feel guilty.
Interesting that you.
I always feel guilty because Jesus liked olives.
Yeah.
You know, he ate olives all the time. He was in the olive, you know, and it's just for some reason I've just never gotten into olives. And so,
Interesting.
yeah.
And is it because of the savoriness or is it the texture?
I
Do you know?
don't know.
Because there is some like that gene that doesn't like cilantro. There's people that when they put cilantro in their mouth, it tastes soapy to them. And I believe there are some people that don't like olives, like they just by the texture.
Isn't that funny?
I've got no idea what it is, but it's like I've tried the you know, I've been over. I've been in Morocco.
Yeah.
You know, so I've tried some of the olives over in the Middle East, and I tried them here. You know, I've tried the green ones, the black ones, And for some reason, it's just not
Not a
No.
thing.
You don't like them.
No, I don't. Ooh, excellent. Now see, I don't taste the olives at all.
Right,
I taste paprika.
right.
I got a little Hungarian in me, yeah.
I'm amazed, because I didn't even know paprika had a taste.
Oh yeah. Oh
Like,
really?
I mean, in all the years that I've cooked with it, it's never had a taste to me, so you must have a palate that just picks it
I
up.
don't know. Excellent though.
Isn't that
Excellent. It
delicious?
is. It's fantastic.
Super good for you, everyone in the family
Very
will love
savory.
it. Yes,
Savory,
it's
yeah.
very savory.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very good.
Good.
And so we're gonna have yours, because I'm gonna pick in this too.
Are we
So
gonna
once
eat
again-
with our fingers? Because don't they eat with their fingers
They
in
do.
Morocco?
Or little pieces of bread, yes.
Yep, very fun. You know, when I used to, I had some girlfriends that lived with me for a little while. We used to do theme nights. Like we would do like a Moroccan party where we'd sit on the floor, we'd eat the
How
couscous
fun.
and stuff. You could do all kinds of things with cooking. Not only cook together, cook stuff you've never cooked together before, and
Have
make
fun.
it fun, and then dress up.
Yeah.
That's another
Well-
part of the, well,
We digress. No. No, I mean, but that's that's one of the things you can do. I mean, you want some practical advice of things that you can do is come up with ideas that you can. What's the word I'm looking for? Develop
To
that
make it
sensual.
fun,
Yeah,
yeah.
to develop that. To focus on the
Playfulness,
sensual,
yeah.
the playfulness, right? I mean, don't be shy. I mean, it's like you need to be clear with each other. You know, sit back and spend that time with each other, play with each other.
right.
You know, give clear feedback. You know, would be another thing.
Be kind.
Yeah, be kind. Well, yeah. Be kind. Be nice, but give clear feedback. Like what you like, what you don't like. It's called. There's an old technique out there called the giver-receiver technique.
Yeah.
Okay, and basically you explore.
Yeah.
You know, okay, kids, close your ears. But this is when like you give, right? And you might spend a couple of times giving, right? And it doesn't lead to sex. Okay, so it's not going to culminate in sex. This is focused on the sensual, where either you give a massage,
Right.
you know, and the person who the receiver tells you what they like, what they don't like, or you know, you use oils or whatever it is. Okay, or you just cuddle. You know, just sit on the couch and cuddle, and you know, you do something different, but you explore, you give feedback. You know, and so it's focusing on the sensual. And you focus on the sensual, you focus on that oneness, you focus on the building the friendship and developing that foundation. And you know what? It all comes together. It'll all come together in the end. And
Kinda
so
like
it's
your dish.
yeah, kind of like
Yeah,
the dish. It all
exactly.
came together. It got a little
All
sensual, a
different
little
parts.
spicy,
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
heat to it, and
And
it
it
came
all
out
works
excellent. It
together.
all worked out great. It is excellent. Another phenomenal meal. I'm telling you, we've never gone wrong yet.
Thank you.
We have never gone wrong yet. This is absolutely fantastic. And so you can go to oursaviorfl.org, and we have all of the recipes there with all the ingredients, everything you need to know to cook it. So if you missed something because I talk too much, there you go. It's right there for you. All right. Hey, thank you guys very much for joining us. You have a great night. God bless. Live love.
Bye-bye.